Before we dive into everything today, welcome to session two of Agent Launch Lab. I am so excited to see you guys back, and I hope you had a great time plugging in all of the pre-work and going through everything that we talked about last week. And now we're going to dig into the really good stuff. So, real quick, put in the chat. I want to hear what your feedback or takeaways were from last session to this session. What did you learn? Did you do your pre-work? Did you have any questions? Give me some feedback, questions, or comments before we get started so I can make sure that I can help you guys. Good morning, Mary Morgan. Hi, Joey. Who here did their pre-work or at least looked at it? Who here looked at it and you were like, okay, I can see what we're going to talk about. Awesome, Loretta. Great job. How was it? Was it easy for you? Did you get stuck on anything? Way to go, Joey. Awesome, Megan. Great work. Love it, girlfriend. Okay, well, that's awesome. And here's the thing with pre-work. It's just like I don't know, I think about it like it's not exactly like school. It's not like you get kicked out if you don't do your pre-work, but it just kind of helps everything come together a little bit easier with what we're going to dive in today. So it won't be the first time you're like processing some of these thoughts. Let's see. Awesome, Loretta made me think, pretty straightforward. Jenna, I felt pretty good about everything we discussed last time. And for what I wasn't comfortable with, it felt good not being alone. Oh, that's awesome, Jenna. I love to hear that. Did the pre-work and guessed on most of the questions, but had no idea about the cost of business. So good, Mary Morgan. These are the types of things that are so important to be thinking about as you're getting ready to launch your business, right? Because the last thing you want as a brand new agent is to be caught by surprise by what it really looks like to build your real estate business and how to do this successfully, right? Okay, so we're going to get into week number two. Let me share my screen. Pause one moment. Where's my slideshow here? Hold on. Okay, cool. All right, guys, you should. Why is it doing that? That's not what I wanted. Hold on. Try again. Stop sharing. Lord have mercy. Technical difficulties, right? Here we go. I think this is it. Here we go. Got it. Okay, y'all. So week two. Welcome. Oh, and by the way, hey, put in the chat. Did you get your book? I sent the link. Like I said, it's not a requirement. You don't have to have it, but it is handy. I mean, this is essentially like if you were going to build a house, right? This is your blueprint for how to build the house that you can come back to at any time. You can highlight in it, all that good stuff. So just go back to the email I sent you with the recording and I linked to the book in there. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Week two, let's go. Let me get my stuff together here. So first of all, I am curious. So, well, hold on, let me get in here. This is if you do have the book, then what we're going to be talking about right now is building your solid foundation, which is chapters 3 and 4, page 19 through 56. That's what we're focusing on today. So if you've already read it, cool, or if not, you can read it, and it'll make sense with everything else that we're going to be talking about, right? So I want to hear who here, based on the pre-work and the things that we have been talking about. Of course, our goal is that we're going to focus today on building a solid foundation for your real estate career, which is so crucial, right? If you go into real estate haphazardly, your business is going to feel haphazard, and that makes it really difficult to build success and longevity. And we want you to make money. We don't want you to be a part of the statistic of the industry, right? So one of the goals of today is to help you understand your cost of doing business, how to actually plan your business financially and with like your goal setting, and how to become a market expert so that you can boost your value proposition to people that are thinking about working with you, and how to stand out in the noise. So I want to know, first of all, does anybody, you just put in the chat, who here knows exactly how many conversations you need to have each month in order to hit your income goal? It's totally fine if you don't, but if you do, put in the chat if you already know exactly how many conversations you need to have in order to hit your income goal. And if you don't, which if you're like me, I didn't when I was a new agent. That's exactly why this session matters so much. Most agents don't fail because they're not willing to work or like they're lazy or something. A lot of times people fail in this industry because they're working without a plan and they're just like hoping it works out. And then that creates a lot of burnout and exhaustion and overwhelm. And it's hard to figure out, well, how the hell, oh, sorry, how the heck am I going to be successful? And how am I going to really build this? So, you want to anchor into that thought. Today's session is all about how do you get paid? And I just want you to remember that you're building a business that actually lasts when you follow the formula. The beauty of this business is that it's like a cake recipe. It's a mathematical formula. I know those are two different things, but similar, right? You look up a cake, how to bake a cake, it's going to tell you, right? This much flour, this many eggs, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with a math. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Same thing. We're going to talk about the actual formula for success. And for me personally, I don't know if y'all can relate to this. This was so empowering to me. In any business I've ever built, knowing that there's a formula, because a formula technically eliminates your need to have magical talent, right? You don't need luck. You don't need magical talent. It doesn't matter who you know. You just need work ethic. If it's a mathematical formula, then all you have to do is say, okay, great. If, 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4, if this amount of conversations every day is going to equal this amount of money in my real estate business, then I don't have to stress about the outcome or how magical and smart I am. I just need to do the work, and the numbers will not lie. The numbers will bring you the results. And that is so empowering, right? So I hope that empowers you. It super empowered me, even knowing like, okay, let's just say, for example, if as you start tracking, okay, for every 10 people I talk to, one person talks back to me, and I need to talk to this many people to get this many appointments, then every time you message someone, whether they message you back or talk to you or answer the phone or not, it's moving you towards that formula because you need the yeses and the nos in sales in order to get the result that you want. So I hope that makes sense. So all that to be said, last session was about mindset. This session is about execution. Mindset without a model uh, doesn't work. You can have a fantastic mindset, but if you don't actually know what to do, that motivation is going to fade. So that's what we're going to really focus on today is the actual model for how to get what you want. So the first thing we're going to focus on, like I mentioned, was in chapter 3, deliver value and get paid in real estate. What does this mean? What does deliver value? Well, it just basically means telling people how you can serve them and then following through on that promise. That's how you get paid when you actually add value to people's lives. If you remember, we talked a little bit about this last week that like it doesn't really like you're not really going to get that many results by just posting and telling people, hey, let me know if you want to buy, sell real estate. It's a lot more about adding true value to somebody's life, truly serving them, truly helping them. And then they know that you are an agent and they will want to work with you, right? So that's what you want to think about. So you build your service plan to earn an income by these 3 things that you see here. Number 1, creating a unique value proposition. A unique value proposition basically just means what is the unique thing that you're going to do for me that's different than other realtors? Now, I know that that can feel a little overwhelming just because sometimes when you're new, I know when I was new, it was like, I don't know. I'm new. I don't really know how I can do anything different. And so that's something we're going to really talk about today, is how to do that because you don't get paid for just having your license, right? You just have your real estate license. I think that's the, rude awakening a lot of times for us as agents is like, I have my real estate license. Why did my neighbor hire a different agent when they knew I'm here or whatever the thing is? You have to stand out. And so you don't get paid just for being licensed. You get paid for um, solving people's problems. Oh, hold on. Let me let somebody into from the waiting room. There you go. You get paid for solving people's problems. You get paid for providing clarity, and you get paid for guiding decisions. Essentially, you get paid for helping people get what they want. And when you prove that you can help people get what they want faster, smoother, easier, they want to work with you. So that's the first thing. Number 2 is acting as a fiduciary. We probably remember learning this in real estate school, right? Fiduciary just means your loyalty. It's a fiduciary mindset. Are you working your business with a client's first mentality? Which essentially means instead of like a me first mentality or how do I get paid? That's what we call commission breath in real estate. People can tell when you have commission breath. They can tell and they don't want to work with that. So you've got to really get yourself out of the picture, get the penny out of your eye so that you can get the result that you want. I want you to think about it like when you show up to help people or to work with a client, you need to be kind of like, without saying it, obsessed with helping them get the result that they want, not worrying about your result, trusting that when you help people get what they want, you will get what you want. That makes sense? So acting as a fiduciary and then understanding the cost of doing business. You have to understand how much am I charging and what is it actually going to cost me to help this person buy or sell. So yeah, that's it. Why should someone choose you over another agent? You can put it in the chat if you have anything on the top of your mind. It's okay if you're like, I'm not really sure. We're going to work on that through this series. But I want you to think about the answer to that question is not, I give really great customer service or I really care about people. Because here's the deal, like pretty much so does everybody else, right? Or at least every agent would say that they do, right? So you have to get more specific. Like, I am going to do a really special marketing campaign, or you know what, this person is going to get my top focus, or I help people um, like based on their lifestyle and what they want. I help them find the perfect neighborhood. It can be a lot of different things, but I want you to think about getting specific. Why should someone choose you over another agent? Maybe it's, you know what, I'm full time. I don't have anything else going on. So I will be like obsessed with this client. That's okay. You don't have to word it exactly like that to the client. We can play with that. But that's a strength. That's a value proposition. Or maybe it's, you know what, I have an accounting background, so I'm really good with numbers. So somebody should use me because of that. If you're not sure, another great thing to do to help you figure out what your value proposition is make sure you've completed our strengths assessment. The strengths assessment is really empowering because it will highlight basically who you are as a human and then share, like, help you get clear on like how do your strengths show up in real estate, and then based on those strengths, what like how do you need to lead generate, how do you need to approach your business, and based on those strengths you can get really clear on a unique value proposition because your strengths are different than someone else's. Like for example, one of my strengths is I'm an executor, so I can bring a lot of value to my clients because when they tell me they want something, I get on it like right then, and I'm really great with follow-up. So I stay on top of negotiations, I stay on top of home searches better than a lot of people. Okay, so all that to be said, let's dig into the fun, which is the money model. This is where, we really are going to break down into the nitty-gritty of, okay, here's what I want you to think about with money. Who here has ever okay, I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. This is not exactly real estate related, but I think it'll make sense. When I first graduated college, I got a corporate job, right? This is before I became an entrepreneur. I got a corporate job, and this was in 2005. Okay. And I had a salary. I think the salary at the time was like $45,000 a year, which in 2005, as a 22-year-old, man, let me tell you, I got that salary. I was like, I am rich. This is what I did. I was like, cool. I took my salary, I divided it by 12 months, and I was like, whoa, I am rich. This is amazing. And then I got my first paycheck, and I was like, what is this? Like, what are all these things that are coming out of my paycheck? Right? Like, how come I thought I was making this and I'm only making this. And what are all these other things in between? What the heck? Right? It was my rude awakening into the world of taxes and Social Security and, corporate. Well, our business is the same, but in a different way. So if you've ever been like, okay, I want to make X amount of dollars, and you just divide it by like an average commission check, you're like, I'm going to be a bajillionaire. Yes, you can make a lot of money in real estate. However, what a lot of people fail to plan for or be aware of is similar to a corporate job, right? Like, what are your expenses, taxes? What's the cost of doing business? And then what are you going to actually take home? And so being clear on like it's essentially to say it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. It's not it's not about like just how much am I going to sell? what's going to be left over after the cost of doing business and the way that you're doing business? And are you doing business in the way that is most like financially smart and gives you the best results? So that is what we're talking about here. So essentially, what you want to think about is if you want to make $100,000, you do not need $100,000 in commission because there's going to be expenses and there's going to be cost of sale. You actually need closer to about $167,000 in gross commission in order to get that number. Now, I want you to think about something before we move on, and I'm going to go through this formula and explain to you how you figure this out, no matter what number you want, okay? But an easy way to think, if you're not so listen, I did not go to school for accounting. I went to school for business and marketing. And accounting, economics, and accounting were my two worst subjects. I'm telling you that to give you hope because I'm not that great with numbers. I'm great with words and people. And so if you're like that, it's okay, but we cannot be afraid of the numbers. We just have to choose to learn them and understand them. You're a smart person, you can do it, right? So here's how I initially learned how to understand gross versus net income. Think about it like this. Gross commission means all the dollars before anything happens. So think about it like it's gross, right? It's all of it. It's like the gross amount of money. Oh my gosh, it's the whole thing, right? Net income, think about it like you've got a net on your back and it's the amount of money that you're actually walking home with, right? In your net. So that's the difference. Gross, and then you've got the gross amount, and then stuff comes out, and then whatever ends up in your net that you take home is your net income, sort of like fishing, right? So that's what I want you to think about here. We're going to dive in. So we are going to calculate your actual gross income to net income, and I'm going to equip you with how to do this just on your own all the time. By the end of this section, you should understand my income goal equals a specific number of appointments that I need to go on. Okay. So everything starts with one number, right? And that is what you actually want to take home because that's how we think about it. That's why we're doing real estate is like, I want to make this much money and this is why, right? We talked about your why last week. So, if you want to make $100,000, what are we looking at here? So basically, now let me see if the next slide is going to give you this number so I'm not redundant. No, okay. So basically, the first thing I want to introduce you to here is the rookie realtor economic breakdown, meaning what should you plan on? So what we typically recommend that you plan on when you're planning out your business is that you will typically, so you've got 100%, that gross commission that comes in out of that 100%, typically 20% of that money will end up being cost of sale. 20% of that money will end up being expenses. Now, what's the difference between cost of sale and expenses? Cost of sale and expenses. Cost of sale only happens when you sell, right? Easy way to think about cost of sale, right? So that means if you have a referral fee that you have to pay on a piece of business because it was sent to you by a lead aggregator or a person that referred a piece of business to you, that would come out of cost of sale. If you pay a transaction coordinator to pay, like help you with paperwork, and you don't pay that person unless you close, that comes out of cost of sale. If you're a part of a brokerage, like Keller Williams, for example, we have a split and there's a capped amount that you contribute to the brokerage every single year. That split you only pay when you close. So that's a cost of sale, right? Expenses are things that you're going to pay for no matter what. So examples could be marketing expense that you're paying to market an open house, or mailers that you're printing and mailing to your database, or gifts that you're getting for your clients, or ads that you're running on Instagram and Facebook, anything like that that you're paying for upfront and you're going to pay for it for your business, no matter if you get a commission check or not, that's an expense, right? So overall in your business as a new agent, you want to plan to have 20% of your income go towards cost of sale, 20% of your income go towards expenses, and then you're looking at a 60% profit. Okay, so that's where these numbers are coming from. So an easy way to figure this out, this is where I used to get so bogged down. I'd be like, how the heck do I know what that number is? Okay, well, let's look right here. So let's say you want to end up with $100,000 in your bank account, right? You're like, I want to make $100,000. Like that's what I need to live. Maybe you're thinking about transitioning from a regular paycheck to this, right? That's how many dollars I need. You're going to take that number, $100,000, and everybody, you can go ahead and get out your phone calculator or whatever and do this exercise with me right now. So take $100,000 and you're going to divide by 60%. And that is how you work backwards. It's going to give you, oops, let's see if we can see. Yep, it's going to give you that number that you see right here, which I hate that it's all sixes. Anybody else weird about that? It's fine. We can just say 167,000 ballpark, right? But technically, that's the amount of gross commission you need to earn. Remember, gross, the total amount that you need to earn in commission in the year to conservatively get this result. Now, are you guaranteed that 20% of your income is expenses and 20% of your income is cost of sales? No, right? Like you might spend less than that. It depends on how you build your business. But in order to, we want to think conservatively in order to basically guarantee that you'll get the result that you want. And so this is a really great plan to do that. Now, this is just another way, like if you're working backwards and you were just like, okay, I made 125,000 and these were my cost of sales. So that's actually how much I brought home. That makes sense. So it's just sort of like two different ways that we're looking at the same thing. Okay. So the lesson of all this is again to say our goal is not, um, it's not just it's you're not just thinking about like how do I sell, right? This is where most agents get it wrong. They aim for income, not revenue. And so if you're just thinking I just want this amount of dollars and you don't think about expenses, you're going to make a lot less than you planned. That makes sense. So that is what we are going to do. Was that helpful? Who here just quickly did math on your phone and you're like, okay, I want to make X amount of dollars. Oh, bam. That's how much gross commission I need. It's a really easy way to help you just start planning and projecting. Okay, now all that to be said, we are going to calculate now how to take that number, let's say $167,000, because you want to go home with 100,000 net after expenses and cost of sale, and we're going to figure out based on that how many actual units, which means houses, do you need to sell? How many appointments to agreements, which means like going to an appointment, they sign a listing agreement or a buyer agreement with you, and agreements to closing. That is what we're going to figure out next. So this is a worksheet and I'm going to send this to you so you'll have it and you probably also fiddle around with it in the pre-work. So we've already done this part here, right? We figured out net income. You wanted to net $100,000, operating expenses, cost of sale. Your total gross commission that you need was $167,000, right? So we can get out our phone calculator again, and I'm just rounding that up, $167,000. You're going to divide it by the average commission amount. Now, as you're growing your business and or if you're already a producing agent, you might know what your personal average is. That's the more that you can personalize this, the better results you're going to have. But let's say you're on this Zoom right now and you're like, I just got my license. I've not sold one house. Well, in that case, I recommend just kind of using like the average, general average commission in the Charlotte market, but then track this as you go along because depending on what type of homes you sell, what rate you decide to charge your clients, et cetera, your commission amount that is your average will could be different, right? Now, generally speaking, in the Charlotte market and with the agents that I work with, 300 or so agents at our brokerage, the generally speaking average commission amount that we're going to use in this example is $10,000. Okay. It's a pretty good ballpark number to go with. So then if we take, let me open that up, get out your phone calculator, $167,000, you're going to divide it by the average commission amount, which is $10,000, right? And that gives you what? Your total units that you need to sell right here. So in this scenario, it's 16.7. Now, you cannot sell zero point 0.7 of a house, right? So that means we're going to round up, which means your goal for total units sold in your year is going to be 17 homes in this scenario, right? 17 homes. Okay. Then we're going to take that number of 17 homes. We need to figure out how many actual agreements and appointments do you need to have in order to end up with 17 closings by the end of your 12 months, right? And by the way, may it be an encouragement to you, you don't need 100 deals. You need 17. Like I think it's easy to get really intimidated in this business. And we're like, oh my gosh, like there's so many agents and the market's weird. And what if I can't sell anything? Listen, there are literally, I think there was like 5,000 closings in the Charlotte metro area last month. You don't need 5,000. You need 17. Can you probably find 17 of them that might want to work with you? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The people that don't, it's because they don't have a plan and they don't know how to talk to people and they're not offering a unique value proposition. You are going to. So let that be an encouragement to you that this can simplify everything for you. We are just going to find 17 people to buy or sell a house with you this year. So now we're going to figure out how many agreements we need. Here's the thing. Not every client you work with will close. You're going to have a buyer that you thought was going to buy a house and then they all of a sudden backed out or something changed. You're going to have a seller that was going to list and then something changed and they're not going to sell their home anymore or their timeline changed. So this stuff happens. So generally speaking, when you look at this closing conversion rate, now remember, you will get to customize these numbers as you track this in your business, but an easy way to plan across the board based on our averages is about a 75% close rate. So that is saying generally on based on our averages, you will close about 75% of people that you sign to work with you. Okay. So that means we need to take your number 17. Everybody get your calculator out again or write this down for later. 17. And we're going to divide it by 75%, right? Because we're working backwards here. And that is going to give you a total of 23 agreements. Technically 22.6, but we're going to round up to 23 agreements. So now that means we know in the year you need 23 people to sign on the dotted line that they want to list or buy with you. That's it. 23 agreements needed in order to get your result. Now we need to figure out how many appointments do you need to go on to find 23 people that want to sign on the dotted line to work with you. Okay. How do we do that? Well, same story. What we have found on our averages is that there's about a 75% conversion rate of appointment to agreement, which means typically, because remember what I said? Do you guys remember last week I was talking about based on NAR, National Association of Realtors, when people are ready to buy or sell, they typically know 9 agents, but they only talk to one. Like 82% of people only talk to one agent. The rest of that percentage talks to 2 agents. That means that typically, if you're going to get an appointment with someone, a lot of times they're not talking to that many other people and you will be able to sign them. So that gives you a 75% on average conversion rate to go on an appointment and get them to sign. 75% of the time they will. So if we need 23 agreements, remember, get your calculator out, 23, we're going to divide that number by 75%. And it gives you 30.6, but we're going to round up, right? So 31 appointments. Everybody write that down. 31 total appointments needed. I want you to think about this. This is an empowering moment for you, and it can give you so much confidence, whether you're a producing agent right now, new to the industry, wherever you're at in the process. To make $100,000 in real estate, this business is not for the faint of heart. It is not it's very simple, but it's not easy. However, I don't think that it's not easy because of the numbers, because this math that we're about to talk about is so simple and achievable. It's not easy because a lot of times we don't know how to develop people skills. Number one, you need massive people skills in real estate. And number two, you need work ethic, desire, and drive to work for yourself because no one's going to hold your feet to the fire. You have to, and you have to stay consistent, right? So think about this. To make $100,000 in real estate in a 12-month period, you need to go on 31 appointments this year. That's it. 31 appointments. You guys, that is 3 appointments a month. 3 appointments a month is what you need to hold in order to make $100,000 this year. Now, if you were going to drill this down even more, I would say, remember, not all appointments hold. If it were me, I would be planning on a 50% hold rate to guarantee this result for me, which means my goal would be 6 appointments a month to plan on 50% of them holding, just to be really conservative. But regardless, how does that make you feel, you guys? Your $100,000 goal is just 3 appointments a month. Put in the chat, how does that make you feel? It's okay if it makes you feel overwhelmed or discouraged or whatever, but I want to encourage you to think about that. You don't need to feel overwhelmed or discouraged. That should empower you, in my opinion, because that is so doable. And whether you were doing this as a full-time job, however much time you're putting in, you're doing this, whatever you're doing with your real estate business, if you know that mathematical number, remember, it is not magical, it is mathematical. You can live your life your whole month and know at the end of the day, I've got to have 3 appointments a month. Now, we're not going to do this today, but you can also break this down even more to then say, how many people do I need to talk to every single day to find 3 appointments this month? So, my personal goal, as me and my husband Josh are building our business, my goal is to talk to 20 people a day based on the goals that we have. So I am talking to 100 people a week, reaching out to 100 people a week to attempt to have conversations and follow up in order to have the appointments we have. That doesn't mean that's what you need to do, but I'm just saying that's something we can break down even further because it's so empowering. If you know, just as an example, okay, I need to talk to 5 people a day, or I need to reach out to 5 people a day to find the 3 appointments a month, then those are your marching orders, right? Whether you're doing this full time, working alongside another job, homeschooling your kids, going to soccer practice, you know, bam, 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 this is what I need to do. That makes sense. I hope that really, really empowers you. So here is the full recap, right? You're going to go on 31 appointments this year. 23 of those 31 appointments, those people are actually going to work with you. Of those 23 appointments, 17 are going to actually close. You are going to earn from that, on average, $167,000. And based on projected operating expenses and cost of sale, you're going to end up with $100,000 in your bank account this year. Oh, and by the way, the cost of sale number, I forgot to tell you, that also includes putting money aside for taxes because that's a thing, right? Um, how does that make you feel? I hope it makes you feel empowered. I love that personally. I just feel like, the formula takes the emotion out of it so you can approach your business logically instead of if you treat your business emotionally, like whether I feel like working today or not, or if I feel overwhelmed or not, then your paycheck in real estate is going to look like a roller coaster. Putting the logic in and removing emotion through mathematical formulas is going to help your real estate income look much more like that. And isn't that what we want? I think so. Okay. So we're going to have a little activity. I want you to write this down for you if you have not already. Don't overthink it. Number one, what's your income goal? Write it down. What's your income goal? Number two, what is the estimated amount of commission per deal? You can go with 10,000 if you don't know. Number three, what's the amount of deals needed? Does everybody have this number? Have you broken this down for yourself? If you haven't, take the next 30 seconds and go through this exact formula worksheet that we just talked about and figure out how many appointments do you need to go on and put it in the chat when you know. And by the way, FYI, I'm going to send you all the handouts for this. It's also in this handy dandy book, the blueprint. I also want you to think about a few things as you're writing this down. First of all, if you feel overwhelmed, just know we're learning today. You don't have to be 1,000% accurate today. You need to be aware. That's the first step, right? If you're like, I'm not sure if I agree with those numbers, I just want to encourage you, like, you cannot ignore the math. These are proven numbers through research and experience. Um, and here's the thing, if you're like, I don't like goal setting, or I don't like planning this stuff out, it stresses me out, I just want to work. You can ignore the math, but you cannot ignore the outcome or avoid the outcome. So if you want to feel confident in the outcome you're going to get from your results, this is an imperative part of that. And if you get excited about this and empowered, just imagine if you actually tracked this weekly. Like, what would happen? What would happen in your business? This right here is why lead generation matters, because now we're not guessing anymore, right? You now know exactly what your business requires of you, and you can go live your life and be empowered. So all that to be said, I am curious to hear from you. What are some of the key differences that you feel like you're picking up between last week and this week? Some of the key differences in earning money in a real estate profession versus a W-2 job. Put it in the chat. I would love to hear from you. What are some key differences in earning money in a real estate profession versus a W-2 job? And how might you use the budget and economic models to design your week? And it says plan your 411, just so you know, because you're probably like, what the heck is a 411? That just means like your daily action checklist. Like, what am I doing every day to get the result that I want? Let me go find the chat really quick, y'all. See what you guys are saying. Oh, this is good. Oh, I'm listening. Listening, not just here. Oh, you guys are adding really good value. That's so good. I love that. Um, okay. Very good. Very good. Jenna said, I feel like I'm more in control of the outcome and my earning potential isn't limited. I love that. Isn't that a great feeling? Joey said, it appears there's more control with real estate as a W-2 rather than a W-2. Yes. Now, here's what I want to say to that in case this can encourage you guys. You're thinking about what's the difference in making money in real estate versus a W-2 job. For me personally, and everybody's different, I will say I have learned over the years that I'm so wired as an entrepreneur, I'm not made to be an employee ever. I have learned that. Why? Well, here's one thing that really bothered me about a W-2 job. Yes, you would know, like, okay, this is how much dollars I make every 2 weeks or whatever the thing is. But one thing that used to really frustrate me about a W-2 job is that it was limited, right? Like, I couldn't wake up one day and just be like, you know what? I really want to be able to go to Greece next year. So I think I'm going to increase what I make at my job by $40,000 or something, right? Like it didn't work like that. You just were told this is how much you make. And normally, if it's a salary, it doesn't matter how hard you work or don't work. It's the same amount of money all the time, right? And that was so extremely frustrating to me. My husband and I were just talking about this the other day because we have big financial goals right now. And I was saying to him, so I'm very into holistic health and wellness. If you know anything about holistic health and wellness, integrated wellness, none of that's ever covered on insurance, and it's very expensive. And I was saying to my husband, it's so empowering in this business that like if you want to be able to pay for XYZ, you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, like how can we budget? Find a way, like we'll stop buying groceries this week so we can afford this, or I can't drink coffee anymore, whatever the thing is. You do want to be prudent with your money, but when you have a business like real estate, you can decide, you know what? My life just changed and I need to make an extra $20,000 in the next 6 months. And you actually can because you can just do this formula and figure out, okay, the next 6 months, I need an extra $20,000 more than what I would normally need. How many appointments is this going to take? How many more people do I need to talk to? And you can literally take control of your entire financial outcome and change it at any time. Isn't that so cool? Okay, let me look here. Let's see what else you guys said. Yeah, the amount of money I can make is 100% controlled by me. Amen, Mary Morgan. Yes, the amount of effort will reflect my income. A W-2 is limited to what I can negotiate before I start the job. Woo, that's a mic drop right there. That is so good. And it's so true. I love what you said about your effort is reflected in your income. So I always say when you work for yourself, you get out of a business exactly what you put into it. It's not if the industry or business works, it's did you work for it? Did you work? Right. And so that is a big change. With a W-2 job, you're doing so much more unpaid work. Ooh, that's so true, Jenna. Absolutely. Loretta said, I calculated this a little different. This is great. Getting into the nitty gritty. The average sales price in Charlotte is 479, 6% commission, getting 60% split. I need 12 sales to earn my 200K. I'm definitely still going to shoot for 31 appointments, get more flexibility. Yeah, Loretta, that's a great thought. And this goes back to remember, you get to decide how much you're going to charge your clients, what your value proposition is to them, and how you're going to pitch that. So that just depends on you and how much you want to charge and all those things. So that's great. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yes, absolutely. I love that limit in W-2, no limit in real estate, said Kenyatta. You can make it rain in real estate. Yes, you can. I love that. That's so good. You really can, though. It's so empowering, you know? Uh, you never have to worry about someone. And by the way, the last thing I'll say about W-2 versus real estate is how empowering is it in that in a W-2, someone else decides your fate. Like you could wake up one day and they just decided you don't have a job anymore as a W-2 employee, or they've changed your compensation structure. They're no longer going to pay you the bonus that they always used to pay you, or whatever the thing is. Real estate, you're in the driver's seat, you know? Now the market changes, right? There's times where it's easier to sell or different. But that doesn't mean that you can't make money. It just means you work differently, right? Okay. Let's keep it rolling, you guys. That was the bulk of today, by the way. It's really, really important to me personally. I want you to feel super empowered around the numbers because when you are super empowered around the numbers, everything else is easier. Okay. So, now we're going to take a little bit of time, talk about being a market expert. This kind of goes back to your value proposition. And remember how I was talking about like if you ever had that feeling of like when you're newer in the industry and you're like, I know about riparian rights and tenants in common, but then someone's like, well, tell me how the market is today. And you're like, I have not the foggiest idea. Let's Google it, right? Like that's what you don't want to have to do. Being a market expert means understanding the market, being an expert, meaning you're well versed in it. You can just talk about it off the cuff, both locally and nationally. This is a key to building your unique value proposition and delivering fiduciary services, especially because, spoiler alert, as this might be shocking, you wouldn't think this, but like there is a vast majority of real estate agents that are not market experts, that don't educate themselves, that literally just have a license and put a sign in a yard and that's it. There's not a unique value proposition for them. There is, and that's your competitive advantage that you can understand that. By the way, if you didn't know, at our office, in case you're curious, we have a Zoom every single morning called Daily Market of the Moment. And on that Zoom, we discuss the Charlotte metro area numbers day to day. How many new listings, how many expireds, how many went under contract, what's the interest rates. And so you're really dialed in hyper local so that you can be like when you can talk about, oh my gosh, well, 3 days ago to today, this is what happened. Like you can be that dialed in, and that makes a huge difference to people. So here's one of your most important steps, or let's say first steps in becoming a market expert. You need to understand the market. There's three kinds of housing markets out there. There's a balanced market, buyer's market, and seller's market. I know we've all probably learned about that in licensing school, but it is something that's always important to understand and stay on the up and up with, especially as things constantly shift in real estate. So put in the chat, what type of market do you think we're in right now? Let's see the chat. What do you guys think? What type of market are we in right now? Oh, that's so awesome. Jenna said, I feel like I have a more focused financial goal now. Woohoo. Yep. Jenna said seller's market. Anybody else? Seller's market. Yep. Balance moving towards buyers. Yep. So these are great. So I'll tell you the answer and we're going to talk about why. But basically, an easy answer, if you just go with the standard right now, like meaning the textbook of how markets work, we're technically in a seller's market. However, I would agree with what Loretta's saying that we're moving towards that balanced market and closer to the buyer's market. How do you know? So, technically, if you think about the definition of a seller's market versus a buyer's market, it has to do with the amount of inventory. When you have anything less than 6 months worth of inventory on the market for people to purchase, it's considered a seller's market. More than 6 months is a buyer's market. Now, technically, when you start getting over that 3 months worth of inventory and getting closer to between 3 and 6 months of inventory, it starts to feel a little different, which is kind of where we are right now, which is an interesting thing because if you look on paper, technically we're in a seller's market. However, sellers don't have the same type of upper hand right now in the Charlotte metro area as they did 2 years ago, right? Buyers have a lot more negotiating power. Days on market are longer. There's a lot more seller concessions going on. So while on paper it might not be considered a full buyer's market where it's like, oh my gosh, we got 8 months of inventory, blah, blah, blah. There's still definitely very heavy, hot competition for certain neighborhoods, certain zip codes, things like that. That those houses are going literally like in a day, sight unseen, even sometimes, or multiple offers. But as we're moving with more levels of inventory, there's definitely also homes that are sitting on the market for 100 days, and pricing is so much more important. Oh my goodness. Pricing strategy is so important. And we'll talk about that in another time. By the way, I'll send you guys info on this, but next week, remember how I said next week we're not doing Wednesday, we're doing Thursday. That's because next week on Wednesday, we are having our quarterly state of the market Zoom, which I highly recommend you be on. Excuse me, it's not a Zoom, it's in person, but I highly recommend you join. We literally take all the stats from the last 3 months of the Charlotte metro area and drill them down super specifically. And it's the most empowering data-driven conversation about real estate. I highly recommend you come check it out. So I'll send you guys the info about that. So all that to be said, how do different markets affect the work you do as an agent, right? It totally affects everything. Just a few things off the top of my head, and you guys can put things in the chat. One is your pricing strategy, right? Two is your marketing strategy. If you guys remember 21, 22, you didn't have to really do anything as an agent. It was almost too easy. Like you just put a sign in the yard and something sold. And you're like, I'm an amazing agent. When really it was just an insanely hot market. Now you have to be way more intentional with how you're marketing a property, how you're staging it, advice you're giving to your sellers, how you're pricing it, all of those things. And then with buyers, you might they have a lot, they're not so rushed. Buyers don't feel so rushed. They have a lot more flexibility to kind of take their time and decide what home they like. Or I personally think buyers and sellers are both more sensitive right now for different reasons. But that might mean you might show a buyer a lot more homes and you need to get a lot more clear on what they're really looking for. Those are a few things to think about. Okay, so with becoming a market expert, this is what I want you to think about. Just keep it in your back pocket of what to always be thinking about and checking on. These are the 6 local market data points that you want to know just at any given time. When somebody's asking you, how's the market? These are the things you can talk about. These, by the way, are also the things we talk about on our daily morning Zoom, the market of the moment. Inventory. How much inventory do we have locally? Because, by the way, also, the national market, the national real estate market is way drastically different. And that story is drastically different than the Charlotte metro area, just like it would be for any local area. So it's really important to understand your local market as well as the national market. So inventory, days on market, prices, interest rates, local flavor and amenities, meaning like what's unique about this particular neighborhood or sub-neighborhood, and then the job market. In case you're wondering how the heck to calculate months of supply, you can look this up and we calculate it regularly. But if you wanted to just at any time go Google it, that's what you do. You can go on your MLS on Canopy and say homes available at the end of the month, how many homes were available in the Charlotte metro area, divided by how many homes actually sold last month, and that's your months of supply. Pretty simple. So I want you to commit these 6 data points to memory because you can go look these up every morning if you want. Just put it on your to-do list every morning. I'm going to look up what's the day-to-day stats on this, or you can just be on that daily Zoom I was talking about. But that way, when a client asks you what's happening in the market, you can confidently answer in a unique way where you don't sound like every other agent. Okay, what are some unique ways that you could build your market knowledge into your value proposition? How could knowing this, basically what I'm saying is, how could knowing this information make you more valuable to a client? Put your feedback in the chat. For me personally, my opinion on this is I really feel like knowing these data points right here and being able to just kind of tie that into your value prop and how you talk to clients, it builds your confidence as an agent. It helps build trust with them that you're demonstrating that you're knowledgeable and you're not just gonna, cookie cutter the situation, right? They're not gonna just be like, oh, this is very just like basic. It also is going to increase your conversion in your appointments and helps you with the strategy around pricing, advising around negotiations, et cetera, right? So that's all super, super important. Okay, that's the last slide for today. So I want you to just marinate on that. What are the unique ways that could build your market knowledge into your value proposition? I have 3 pieces of homework for you today, and that is between today and Wednesday. This does not have to take a lot of time. Oh, and by the way, I completely forgot about this. If you did the pre-work, please send it to me so that we can count points for you, and I'll do recognition at the end of this 7 sessions for prizes. So make sure to send me your pre-work or just email me and say, hey, I did my pre-work so I can count you for points. But here's your action items from today, between today and our next session is number 1, if you have not already, and I want you to email these to me so I have it and we can give you extra recognition and points for completing these 3 actions. Number 1, define your income goal clearly. Define your income goal clearly. Net versus gross, what is it? Number 2 is I want you to start tracking conversations immediately. How many conversations are you having to start moving towards that income goal? And number 3, I want to challenge you to learn 3 local market stats this week. Now, these can be Charlotte metro area. It could even be like your town, of course, like Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Waxhaw, Matthews, etc. It could even be a zip code or a neighborhood, however you decide you want to drill it down. If you have access, like if you're not a brand new agent and you have access to the MLS, you can get these stats under the matrix on there. What's the thing called? the word has left me, but there's a whole reporting section on our MLS. So you can get it there. Or you could also chat GPT it if you're newly licensed, you don't have access to help. You just kind of start putting that together. But learn three local market stats. So these are the market stats, right? The 6 data points. Pick three of those and learn those for your local area so you can feel empowered. All right, that's what we have today. You don't rise to your goals, you fail to your systems. And today is all about solid systems for projecting your business and working on purpose so that you can work with intention rather than, here's the thing, success is not ever going to happen on accident. If you don't know where you're going, you will wind up somewhere else. And that's the beauty of what we're doing is you're going to have a clear path to know where you're going so you can get there on purpose and not wind up somewhere else. All right, so let's see. Let me look and see if there's anything else here. Yep, these great information. I think the old cliche about knowledge is power applies here. Absolutely. Power in the sense that it'll help give both customer and you confidence. Absolutely. Knowledge is totally power backed with action, right? All right. What questions do you guys have for me? I finished faster than I was going to today. What questions do you have for me or feedback? I'd love to hear your ahas, takeaways. What are you excited about? Mary Morgan said, how can we get access to the Strengths Finder assessment? Oh, I can send that to you. Absolutely. I can send you a link for the Strengths Finder assessment. Let me write that down. Oh, you're talking, sorry, hold on. I just realized, Mary Morgan, you're talking about the strengths assessment I talked about in here, which is the KPA. I was like, how'd she know about the Strengths Finder? It's a whole other thing. Mary Morgan, I will send you a link to complete the strengths assessment, and then I'll be able to go through an entire customized evaluation with you. It's so eye-opening and empowering. If any of you guys have done the KPA strengths assessment, put in the chat. I'm sure that she'd find that feedback interesting. Is there a way we can get access to the MLS website? So once you're fully licensed and your license is hung with a brokerage, so like just as our office as an example, when you hang your license with us, we fill out all your paperwork to apply to have to be a member of the MLS, and then they go through an orientation, and then you can start using it. Awesome, Megan Gregory. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Megan wants the KPA. Cool, Megan, writing it down. Loretta, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, great. So Loretta, Mary Morgan, and Megan, I will send you a link to complete the strengths assessment. And Jenna, absolutely. And then we'll go through it. And then I am so excited to hear your feedback on the action item homework. Just like I said, reply back to the recording that's going to come out to you with your feedback so we can make sure to count your points for that. And don't forget our next session is coming up Wednesday. We're going to keep digging into this stuff. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm so excited you guys were here. Do you guys want a little sneak preview on what next session is about? Let me grab it really quick. I'll give you a little sneak peek. Let's see. Well, maybe not a peek, but a preview. Let's see. Oh, session 3 is going to be good. We are going to dig into, like, you're going to be like, okay, now I know how many appointments I need. What the heck do I do now? How do I actually find these people? Next session is all about lead generation, the call to action database model, and how to actually find business among the people that you know, your social media, and find people outside of your world to add in. So how to find the people that actually bring you the business. It's going to be awesome. So mark your calendar. I'll see you then, and look for the recordings to come out at the end of the day. All right, guys, have a great one. See you later. Bye.